when they play, nobody wants to be a coach. I don't have one that during their career they tell me, oh, I'm going to be, or I want to be. So it's always unexpected, because nobody tells you one day I want to be. No. But I always tell them, do the badges, do the coaching courses, have your education, because maybe one day you want to be, no, I don't want. But in the end, they come. So it's always unexpected because they don't. But I would say that Xabi Alonso, his father was a manager. So he grew up similar to me. He was born with the father player. He grew up with the father manager. Then he became a player, of course, much better than I was. Then he became a player, a top player. His position on the pitch and his knowledge of the game very high. And then he played in Spain, in England, and in Germany. And he was coached by Guardiola in Bayern, by myself in Real Madrid, by Ancelotti in Real Madrid, by Benitez in Liverpool. So I think if you put all this together, I think Xabi has conditions to be a very good coach.
Mourinho was right all along. Xabi Alonso has become one of the best managers in world football, and the numbers speak louder than any debate. 3 trophies with Bayer Leverkusen, the Bundesliga, the DFB Pokal, and the German Super Cup would already be enough to cement a legacy, but Alonso did it in a way that even Bayern Munich could not dream of, winning the Bundesliga unbeaten.
Which is the bigger achievement, Istanbul or Leverkusen? Come on, no diplomacy.
No diplomacy. It's tough. No. I can't pick from both.
This was not just a title, this was domination, rewriting history and giving birth to a new superpower in Germany.
And Wirtz, oh my goodness!
Under him, players like Florian Wirtz and Jeremy Frimpong didn't just improve, they exploded, reaching levels nobody thought possible, becoming pillars of European football thanks to Alonso's vision. And now the Spaniard faces the biggest mission of his life. Real Madrid.
Encender a la afición, que estén orgullosos del equipo que ven en el campo, que transmitamos emociones, que transmitamos alegría, que transmitamos que la gente disfruta, que va al estadio para disfrutar, cuando está en la tele, en todo el mundo viéndonos, que diga, ese es el equipo que me gusta, ese es mi equipo, ese es mi Real Madrid, y si conseguimos encender eso, tendremos una fuerza imparable.
A club that only recognises one reality to sit on the throne of football. Legends like Zidane and Ancelotti built dynasties from a dressing room packed with stars Mbappé, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, Bellingham, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Carvajal, Courtois, names that alone should guarantee silverware. But egos had grown bigger than the shirt, and the belief that being who they were was enough poisoned the air. Alonso cut that down from day one. He reminded them that there is always something bigger than the individual, and that is Real Madrid.
What's it like playing for Xabi Alonso? He's made it very clear that this team is going to be based around you. You are key for him.
I'm important, yes, but I think all the team are important. That's what he wants to say. That's everybody on the pitch. I have to bring something to the team, to bring something to the table. And that's what we do for the moment, but we know also that we can improve, we can be better. It's just the start of a new project for him, for the team. So we have to learn and to listen what he's going to say and to be better.
The message hit hard. Youngsters like Gonzalo Garcia were given the chance and answered with hunger. Arda Güler embraced the legacy of Kroos and Modric and now carries the team on his shoulders with Alonso's trust. The toxic battle between Vinicius and Mbappé for dressing room leadership ended the moment Alonso made it clear who was in charge. Mbappé has been unleashed as the best player in the world, and Vinicius has finally understood. If you don't run, if you don't fight, you sit on the bench. The warnings were loud and the atmosphere transformed for the better. The result? First place in La Liga, standing toe-to-toe with Flick's monstrous Barcelona. A team that had become predictable is now tactically dynamic, full of variations and rich in solutions.
Pero ahora mismo, en el panorama internacional, el relevo ideal para mi padre era él. porque creo el mejor joven entrenador que hay en el mercado.
Xabi Alonso has injected new life into Madrid, showing that Mourinho's words were prophetic. His position on the pitch, his understanding of tempo and space, his education under Guardiola.
Yo creo que Pep en su forma de entender el fútbol es fútbol de control, fútbol de asociarse, pero luego si está Sané, que te puede hacer conducciones de 40 metros, o Kevin De Bruyne, que sabe jugar muy bien al espacio, no puedes quitar eso, Y ves al City que combina muy bien las dos cosas, ¿no? Y eso para mí enriquece a lo que es un equipo, que no solo pueda jugar de una manera, sino que puedas jugar igual, dependiendo del rival. Si tienes un gran rival, pues igual tienes que hacer un planteamiento más conservador, o en vez de querer siempre jugar en campo contrario.
Mourinho, Ancelotti.
Él ha hecho un trabajo fantástico al Bayern Leverkusen.
And Benitez. All of it forged him into the tactical monster we are witnessing today. Xabi Alonso is no longer the quiet conductor in midfield. He is the new giant of the dugout. The history have had the privilege of absorbing the lessons of Guardiola, Ancelotti, and Mourinho, three titans with completely different ideologies. From Pep Guardiola, he learned anticipation, the art of reading the game before anyone else, and how to construct elaborate attacking patterns without losing control. From Carlo Ancelotti, he inherited calmness, the ability to transmit good football through simplicity, and above all, the wisdom to manage a dressing room full of egos without breaking the unity of the group. From Mourinho, he took the competitive steel, the tactical sharpness, and the fire to communicate with absolute authority.
When you sign for Mourinho, you sign for Pep Guardiola, you know they're fantastic managers because of the success that they've had. But how long does it take for you to, when you're working with them, to think, yes, this man's top class?
First meeting.
Others also left their mark. Rafa Benitez sharpened his defensive awareness. Denoué taught him the value of structured organisation. And Vicente Del Bosque reinforced the concept of collective play, where the team is always bigger than the individual. This cocktail of influences gave Alonso something rare, not a single style, but a tactical toolbox rich enough to adapt to any situation. And that is exactly what we see in his teams today. Alonso's football has principles carved in stone, identity of play, a style that is always recognisable, never diluted, possession with verticality, not sterile circulation, but passes with a purpose, designed to break lines and punish the opponent, high pressing and immediate recovery. His sides suffocate you the moment they lose the ball, wearing you down until mistakes become inevitable. Flexibility and adaptation. Alonso knows what he wants, but he is never rigid. He bends his system to the demands of the match, the rival, and the moment. Look at his Leverkusen, a three-at-the-back system that guarantees defensive solidity, but also morphs into a five-man wave in attack. Two pivots secure the base, freeing offensive wing-backs and two advanced midfielders to flood the final third. The result is a team that overwhelms with fluency, creating superiority in every channel and threatening from both flanks. This is Xabi Alonso's essence, the sum of masters, distilled into a philosophy that is both brutal and elegant, disciplined yet creative. He is the rare disciple who has taken lessons from legends and turned them into something entirely his own. This tactical curriculum resulted in one of the most beautiful stories in football. The story of Xabi Alonso at Bayer Leverkusen is nothing short of mythical. When he arrived in October 2022, the club was drowning in relegation waters, confidence shattered, the spark of football extinguished. Few believed that a man with no experience at the highest level of management could rescue a sinking ship. Yet Alonso walked into that dressing room with calm eyes and an iron conviction. He did not promise miracles, he promised work, clarity, and identity.
Probably in the past I had the chance to take a good team as well, a top team, but I felt that I needed to prepare myself and to find the right moment. And I feel ready that this is the right moment and this is a great project.
Within weeks, the players began to move differently, to press with hunger, to pass with intent. By the end of that first season, Leverkusen had climbed from despair to 6th place, securing European football. From crisis to Europa League, that was the first miracle. But it was in 2023/24 that Alonso's vision exploded into history. Leverkusen played like a side possessed, a machine with rhythm and purpose. They did not just win matches, they dominated them, suffocating opponents with pressing traps and punishing them with vertical strikes. By April, they were crowned Bundesliga champions for the first time in the club's existence, and they did it in style, unbeaten, untouchable, unstoppable. A A team that once trembled in relegation fights now stood tall above Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, and every other German giant. And Alonso did not stop there. In Berlin, under the bright lights of the Olympiastadion, Leverkusen lifted the DFB Pokal, completing a historic domestic double, first in the club's 119-year history.
That's why when something unexpected happens, it feels greater, it feels bigger, and that's why, and the way it has been till the final day, having to put so much effort, with a little bit of drama, all the second half playing with one less player. No, it's for sure it's a dream season.
Leverkusen, forever seen as nearly men, bottlers, the eternal runners-up, had been transformed into relentless winners. The numbers themselves tell a story never seen before in German football. 51 consecutive games unbeaten. A streak that shattered modern records, a run that felt almost supernatural. They fell only in the Europa League final, but by then their place in history was already carved in stone. No one could doubt it any longer. Xabi Alonso had built a team that defied fear, expectation, and even probability. From relegation to invincibility in just 2 years and a half. And it was this revolution that made Real Madrid call, for they knew what everyone now knows. Xabi Alonso is not just another coach. He is the man who turns ruins into empires. What made Xabi Alonso terrifying in Germany was not just the results, but the system behind them. As a player, Alonso was the embodiment of calm, a metronome who dictated rhythm with precision and patience. But as a manager, he has revealed another side of his footballing soul, one that thrives on dynamism, verticality, and speed. Where his boots once whispered control, his tactics now scream aggression. In Leverkusen, he forged a model that blended intelligence with intensity. On paper, it was often drawn as a 3-4-3, but that shape was only the starting point. In defensive phases, it morphed into a 4-4-2, compressing the field, locking down the flanks, and giving his team balance against transitions. In attack, it transformed into something far more dangerous. The wing-backs pushed high, creating natural width, while the double pivot in midfield orchestrated play and provided cover. Ahead of them, two attacking midfielders operated in the half spaces, slipping between the lines, finding gaps, and linking with the striker. The genius of the system lay in its dual nature. It was rigid in its defensive organisation, yet fluid in attack. The wing-backs carried the ball forward with power. The midfielders dictated tempo and switched play, and the forwards had license to move, combine, and finish. For this model to thrive, Alonso demanded players with both brains and lungs footballers who could press with intensity, arrive in the box with timing, and still possess the technique to unlock a block. It was a shape designed to suffocate opponents without the ball and overwhelm them with it. Every pass had a purpose, every movement carried intent, and every role was synchronized to perfection. It was not just tactics, it was architecture. The success of Xabi Alonso in implementing his football has never been just about whiteboards or arrows drawn in training sessions. It has been about the players who brought his vision to life. At Leverkusen, the Basque coach forged a recognizable 11 that carried him through almost every battle. At the very back, reliability came first. With the experience of Lukáš Hradecki in goal, Alonso built the foundations of a side that could both defend and attack with total conviction. In Madrid, that pillar has been upgraded to the ultimate version, Thibaut Courtois, the best goalkeeper in the world, a wall that gives Alonso the confidence to let his system fly forward. In defence, Alonso's formula has always relied on three centre-backs with physicality, intelligence and discipline. At Leverkusen, he had Tapsoba, Jonathan Tah, Kosunu and Hincapié men who embodied the strength and aerial dominance required. In Madrid, he wasted no time replicating that solidity, handing the keys to young Dean Huijs of youth with the authority of experience. The wings have always been one of Alonso's most decisive weapons. At Leverkusen, the Carrileros were the heartbeat of the system. Grimaldo on the left, an engine who delivered goals, assists and relentless width. And Jeremy Frimpong on the right, a lightning bolt who is now terrorising Premier League defences at Liverpool under Arne Slot. In Madrid, Alonso has not fallen short. He commands an arsenal of fullbacks who can fly up and down the flanks. Alvaro Carreras, Danny Carvajal with his captain's fire, and even Trent Alexander-Arnold, a weapon signed to add world-class delivery and creativity to those corridors. The midfield, however, is where the magic lives. At Leverkusen, Granit Xhaka and Ezequiel Palacios gave him balance. The Swiss general brought calm and order, while the Argentine injected dynamism and energy. Together they embodied Alonso's philosophy of mixing control with intensity. At Real Madrid, Alonso has created something far scarier, the so-called triangle of death. Arda Güler, entrusted as the new conductor, dictates tempo with vision and maturity. Aurelien Tchouameni has exploded under Alonso's guidance, evolving into one of the most complete pivots in world football. And then there is Federico Valverde, 7 lungs, endless versatility, a man who covers every blade of grass. Add to that the brilliance of Jude Bellingham and the power of Eduardo Camavinga, and Madrid suddenly possess a midfield engine capable of crushing anyone in Europe. In the final third, the echoes of Leverkusen are even clearer. In Germany, Florian Wirtz was the jewel, the creative brain Alonso trusted to light the way. In Madrid, that mantle has been handed to Arda Güler, now tasked with being the new nerve centre of Los Blancos. Alongside Wirtz, Jonas Hoffmann shone at Leverkusen. In Spain, Alonso looks to Franco Mastantuono to replicate that rise, while also rebuilding the confidence of Rodrigo Goes. Up front, Victor Boniface was the unexpected force of nature at Leverkusen, a striker who shocked with power and goals. In Madrid, that role belongs unquestionably to Kylian Mbappe, who has finally been given the throne he needed in the dressing room, and is now playing at the best level of his career. And yet, the story of Real Madrid under Alonso cannot ignore the turbulence of Vinicius Jr., who finds himself no longer an untouchable starter, caught in the uncertainty of adapting to a system that demands sacrifice above individualism. Behind him waits a new generation, Endrick with his raw talent, Gonzalo Garcia lifting his hand, Brahim Diaz reinventing himself, Fran Garcia bombing forward, David Alaba and Dani Ceballos adding depth. It is a squad overflowing with resources, the perfect canvas for Alonso to deploy his football and rebuild Madrid's empire. The genius of Xabi Alonso is already visible at the Santiago Bernabeu. The World Club Cup may have ended in disappointment.
Rudiger, another mistake. Dembele, fleet-footed, takes his big shot.
But it gave him a priceless opportunity. Time to dissect his squad from the inside, to understand the gaps and to impose his structure. Now, as the 2025/26 season begins, Real Madrid have exploded out of the blocks 4 wins from 4 Ballon d'Or debates.
Everyone has disregarded the compliments that Kylian, my boy Kylian, that I've mentioned so many years now, and no one's talking about him for Ballon d'Or, so all I said was, he could get Ballon d'Or next season.
The Frenchman is even pressing with intensity, something many thought he would never bring to Madrid. Alonso gave him the keys, and Mbappe has responded like the world's best player. Vinicius, however, lives in uncertainty. His inconsistency in pressing and decision-making has already cost him minutes. Alonso has benched him without hesitation, proving that in this Madrid, names don't play, performance does. The message is clear: press or sit.
Va a haber un momento para todos. Nadie va a jugar todos los partidos. Nadie tiene que sentirse ofendido por no jugar un partido.
Rodrigo has found space in rotation, combining well with Mbappe against Marseille, while Franco Mastantuono and Brahim Diaz are being developed as flexible options behind the front line. Endrick and Gonzalo Garcia remain sidelined, one through injury, the other through the weight of competition. From a Madrid that looked lost and without identity, Alonso has built a side that breathes order, ambition and danger. In just 4 La Liga games and 1 Champions League night, he has turned doubt into conviction and chaos into control. This Madrid no longer just competes, it feels ready to win everything. Mourinho saw it before anyone else. Alonso was destined to lead from the touchline. Now it's clear he will be the next generational coach born from the era of great footballers.